Oh, at the end.
3, 2, 1. We are live. So, hi guys, welcome back to another episode of It's a DARMAR. Today I have not one, but two guests. They are good friends, and one of them is named Arthur Martins, you know him. The other one is Rodrigo Galdino, and they decided to join me together, which is quite fun because for the first time on It's a DARMAR stream we have two amazing artists and great guys joining me here and talking about art and their lives. Hi guys, how are you?
So, Darko, how you doing, man? It's a pleasure to be here, though.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm really happy that you both decided to join me, and let's see how this goes because this is the first time I have two guests. First time.
No, man, I feel it's gonna be fun. I feel really humbled, and I told you before because I have you guys like two heroes and friends, and I feel like I'm a little kid in a giant in a meeting with giants, like so.
Oh my God! The same. Back to you, Gal.
It's too nice.
No, that's true, man. That's true.
Yeah. I thought it would be fun to bring Galdino on because now we have something very interesting to show other than my stupid work.
I think very stupid work. It's the worst work I saw in my life, really.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome to see stuff.
You remember, guys, I need to introduce this first. I will introduce you both. So they're both car design guys, and they do much more than car design, but they started in car design careers. They are both located in Los Angeles, California, and they both have some crazy styles. Rodrigo is fan of the Star Wars, that's what I know. He does a lot of cool illustrations in Star Wars that I will be showing you and stuff like that. And Arthur has a very specific rendering style that I will forever remember. We were together in Creative Pot, if you remember that.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy to think about it. Like it was like a 5-6 years ago. Yeah, and I remember it was like quite interesting for me when I joined it because most of the people they were like from entertainment business and not car design. And then they pushed me into do something different. Like I almost like quite changed my style since then because of you guys, because the work you guys were putting on back then, and because the things I was seeing, like, oh my God, I was experiencing like totally something that was totally different from what I was used to in a car design environment. And I think you can see through all my stuff like
since college, 1997, and then we worked together at Volkswagen in Brazil for a long time. We worked together at GM for 8 years, and we both now live here in LA area, and we are always together. And during this time, Arthur always sit next to me, and we exchanged experiences all the time, and I learned with this guy. Come on, a lot, right? So every line I do, I remember, I keep in my mind if Arthur would do that or not, because we had some right, Tuco, because we had something back then that most designers around they don't have it, and I feel for that because we kept our desks monitors like really open to other for come and criticize and and exchange experiences, and that was really healthy for both of us to learn from each other and from other designers as well. So
yeah, I think that's something that's. Sorry, got to interrupt you again.
No,
so,
go ahead.
Keep going. I think like to your point, I think that's something it was pretty unique back then. I think now people tend to share more their stuff and get different opinions on their work. But back then, like especially on a car design environment, which things tend to be pretty harsh, and I mean, for most of the studios, the designers they kind of hide their stuff from what the other designers wanted to be. Yeah, you know that, Dark, but you've been on that environment.
It's one of the harshest environments of design ever, like when I was in it. I left it in 2016, but it's super hard. People don't like to share, and it's very political. Yeah.
But me and Rodrigo, we always had this policy. Like, we're always like sharing stuff. We're always getting the other one, the other one's opinion, and I think we improved a lot together doing this, like sharing and getting the comments from the other one. I still do because sometimes I send him over my stuff like, hey, what do you think? You think this is cool? What do you think I can improve it? And then he gives me his feedback, and I give my feedback to him. I think still a really nice relationship since that day one, I guess.
That's good. Yeah, friendships are rare. Friendships are always rare in any business environment, and that's very nice to hear that you are still tight after 20 years. 20 years a lot. Your marriage has been suffering a lot in 20 years, so if you survived that, you will survive anything. Like, that's how it goes.
Yeah, we have kids together, that's why.
Great. Great. But we were part of the creative pot, and I remember I gathered you there. I was like, I started with you, then you brought Rodrigo, then Pedro joined, and John joined, and there were a lot of names. So at one point we had also Scott Robertson. I remember that.
Yeah, that was crazy. When he joined, I was like, oh my god.
Oh yeah, what was that?
Here.
Yeah. And also Fausto, man. I think
Fausto
is to me like
a god.
A god, a brother, and a master hero. I learned a lot from him from his humbleness. I don't know if that word is correct, but when you have people on this caliber, man. In something that you created, Darko, I think what you did was unprecedented, man, because so many, the name is really good, the Creative Pot.
Yeah.
And what Art was talking about, about sharing stuff and open to criticism and hearing from other artists. I mean, that was basically what you were looking for on the Creative Pot, right?
The idea was behind it. Money was never involved, and the idea was exactly that. As Arthur said, car design is very harsh. It's a very harsh environment, and I just left it, and I didn't have any creativity in me, and I was like, why don't they gather similar-minded people from the industry? Because I know if in Italy the car design is like this, in Germany the car design is like this, very stiff, very closed, nobody wants to show anything, everybody's working for themselves. I know everybody needs a break from that and a creative boost. That was my opinion. And then I started inviting you one by one. And Arthur was kind enough to bring 5 more people with him, 6 or 7. And then it developed. And I was like, this can boost our creativity. That was the idea. And I was very happy that you all joined.
It did. Definitely, it did. It did. And for me, it was a big thing. I think because of Creative Pod, and I'm telling this like 100%. I'm 100% sure. That's the reason why I'm here now in America, like doing car design here in like the most creative studios in the world, because people finally got to see my stuff out there. I think it was a pretty good display for all of our work. So
And you didn't tell me that for 3 years. I find out that now. Oh my God.
Yeah, I like to keep things pretty close in my chest. Sorry, buddy. No.
But I'm super happy because you both were already amazing back then. And I remember John was amazing because every time I voted for Arthur or for John, I'll be honest, I vote for John. I vote for John.
Yeah, dude. He was
John is awesome.
He was killing every single prompt, dude. Every single subject we put together. He was killing it. I mean, he's amazing. He's an amazing guy. I mean, not only like an amazing artist, he's an amazing human being. He's a really nice person, though.
Yeah, I had him on the stream, and he joined me. He was one of the first guests, and he was sketching live, and I enjoyed a lot watching everything. And Creative Pot was interesting because it made me, this is my story now, made me switch to concept art. I literally switched because of the Creative Pot. And the second thing was, maybe I'm not that good as I think, when I started seeing how fast all of you guys work and how professional all of you work. So it was really eye-opening for me. And I was like, I need to get on this level. to get anywhere in life, literally. And I liked because everybody had a different style. Everybody inside the group had a different style, but in a different vision. And you remember when we started making each week a different topic, but non-car related, something out.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was eye-opening, definitely eye-opening that you can do something beside the cars and industrial design. So yeah.
I think you're right, and also it's good you mentioned about like when you decided to switch to concept art, because sometimes we get frustrated with something, and it's probably a very good thing because it's a changing point, right? Is when you decide to go to a different direction. So I always take frustration as an opportunity for a new pathway in your life. So if you get frustrated with something, you can decide to go to a different direction, and you can find your pathway. You know what I mean? And I totally I totally second you, Dark, on that. It's and honestly, dude, the level of your work is insane.
Thank you.
It's like mind blowing. And if it was not for that frustration that you had, you wouldn't be Darko.
DARMAR.
You know,
Prince DARMAR of Serbia.
It's DARMAR now. Yeah.
DARMAR of Serbia, exactly. You know, Prince DARMAR of Serbia. So, you know, how important is the frustration to a professional, you know?
Yeah, because my opinion about frustration is you need to have it. As you said, I completely agree on that. You need to have it because it pushes you outside of the box. When you're frustrated, you need to move, you need to think, you need to change. And when everything is calm, you just ride the smooth waves, and that's it pretty much. And with frustration, I was very frustrated then because nothing was working. One more thing, you are one of the rare guys that were in my group when the book was developing. Both of you on Facebook. And you were giving me comments all the time and following for 3 years. I eventually closed that group, but I'm very happy that I invited you. That happened immediately after Creative Pot, and that you were in the group till the end.
Ah, man, it's a pleasure. I don't get to Facebook as much as I used before. You know, like
I think everyone did.
Yeah.
I think everyone's switching to something else like Instagram or
TikTok.
TikTok now is the thing for youth. We're old guys.
Definitely. I read something. I was like reading for the social media. I was exploring, and I saw that TikTok is now #1, and I was like, "What is TikTok?"
It's crazy. Yeah.
And
same here, but I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And I was like, well, this is a development. It's a step up from the Instagram. So the people don't need even anymore to talk. They just use different voice and their looks, and that's it pretty much. The step up of the game.
It's weird, man.
It definitely is. Definitely.
It's for a different generation. This is something that I mean, we're not going to use it as much as the young people, but being able to understand why, I think it's a big part of like what being a good designer is. Because being a good designer, I mean, we're entering a different topic here right now, but like for me, like being a good designer is being able to understand changes and work with those changes. I think it's not a completely different subject because we were talking about change like minutes ago. Like how did you change? How did I change? How the business changing? Yeah. And I think change is part of everything in our life, right? If you're not open to changes, we get stuck in time, and that's why I think you, Darko, it's you right now because you're always open to change. You're always willing to give the next steps. Like, whatever. This is not working. I'll give a different. I'll switch to a different direction.
This girlfriend is not working. I'm taking the new one. Yeah, I know that story. It happens a lot to me.
Exactly. Yeah, but for some people, but for some people, this is like a struggle. They stick whatever they have, they hold that so tight that they got stuck in time, and they don't evolve. But you do, and that's why you are you.
I think we're all doing that and evolving. I think that's the only way to progress, because sometimes life is giving you something bigger if you just leave the other thing. And it's painful to leave stuff. I mean, it's painful to leave people, it's painful to leave a job, it's painful to leave everything, because it's something new and unfamiliar and you don't know what's gonna happen. But if it's tormenting you, do it. Just do it. Move from it, because that's the only way to progress and to be happy.
I totally agree.
Totally agree. Yeah.
And guys, I have a question. This is the first question. I'm loving this stream because 20 minutes I didn't ask a question. We are just talking. That's a great stream. No, don't apologize. I love it because it's a great stream if I don't need to ask the questions. This is a question for both of you. You are all both amazing designers in car design, one of the hardest industries in the design world. And my question is, what makes design good for you guys?
You want to answer first, Gal? I can.
Man, I think first of all, you have to be connected what's happening in the world right now, and I think as we were talking about before, the things they change a lot. If you're stuck in something for too long, you don't see the time passing, and of course your design doesn't evolve. And to me, the good design is the one that is evolving, and when you bring something new that unique, and that's to me the good design. Doesn't matter if it shocks a little bit in the beginning and breaks some rules, whatever. I think that's the good thing about a good design. There are some uniqueness to some products that they are like timeless. Talking about Star Wars, which is my number one subject in my life. How timeless is the X-wing design, the TIE fighter design, and how simple they are. So it's the simplicity, the iconicity, and I think it broke some rules in the past. And that's why it became so iconic and amazing, So yeah, I think the good design is the one that you can recognize in a few seconds, and it never gets out of your head, So
yeah, not only that, but I think the good design is not only aesthetically good, like Aldino was saying, like something that's easily recognizable in a few seconds, or it's so simple and nice that the beauty of it is going to stay forever. But I think the good design is what it actually changed things, and it changed forever. Like, let's speak of Apple. Everyone thinks it's a cliche, but I think for me it's one of the best examples here. When the iPhone came out, like being able to use only a screen, it changed everything. Everyone now uses iPhone-like mobile phone, right?
Yeah.
So that's for me a good design, when it changed the experience so big that changed everyone's perception of the word and things they can do it right now. The good design it's like a tool that enables people to go further, to do more, like and easily and seamless. That's what a good design is for me.
Totally.
Like when it brings like a seamless, nice experience, and not only about like looking good and being good looking. It's definitely what makes a good design. It's a thing that enables you to be more.
And also, just to complement, it's something that really works. A design is not a piece with design is not a piece with design if it doesn't work, if it doesn't, if it doesn't achieve its purpose, if the purpose is only visual, great. Like for movies, for example, it needs to work in a certain angle, in a certain keyframe, and it's just visual, but it needs to look like, that it really works in real life, like otherwise it's just art, and art has its purpose as well. Like that's because the line between art and design is very thin, because art has a function as well, right? So it changes, as Arthur was saying. Art and design, they change minds, they change sometimes cultures, like Apple did, as Arthur mentioned, like it changed the world, so it's a cultural change aspect that is really important to those brands as well.
That's one of the things that they teach you in any art school in the beginning. Design, form follows function, ergonomy, everything. And for me, Apple was that, like form literally following the freaking function, which was amazing. We minimalize it and we make something that works with the least effort. And nobody thought of that. Or maybe they did, but they didn't have the technology for LCD displays and touchscreens, actually. And for me, Apple was, when it came out, like it was a shock to the system. A lot of people rejected it before they took it because they were like afraid of something new. And that's also for me amazing design, something that shocks you. Of course, there are some designs that just shock you, and that's it pretty much. Like I don't know, I'm trying to look for a design in my head that shocks. Do you have anything in your mind that only shocks you, but it's not a good design? I don't know. I will remember during the conversation.
No, I got your point. I don't have a perfect example for it right now, like to make it for people that are listening to us. But I got your point. Like some things they shock, but not in a good way. They shock, and the next minute they're forgotten because they're not as good as a good design should be. Like you said, everything is related to changes. Like I think is a perfect answer for the question, because we were talking about changes and everything and how things change, and we change based on those changes. A lot of changes on my sentence. Sorry, but yeah. Some products they come, they shock, but next month or next day they're forgotten because they didn't make our experience better. It's just a different experience, but not as good, and it doesn't enable you to do more. Like technology, you said you mentioned that, and there's a big role now in every piece of design. Because the technology is evolving really fast as well. It's something that's changing pretty fast, and you got to keep up with it, because that's what makes those new products possible, right? Like you said, the touchscreens, they were impossible like 15 years ago, like 20 years ago, and now it's everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's
perfect example for a car design is BMW Gina. That's a perfect example of something that shocks you and stays in your system forever. The car that Benz that has like a skin, BMW,
the textile one.
Yeah, that's freaking
that's
insane.
Awesome.
That's freaking insane. Like that one was like, it changed my perception totally. When I met Chris Bengal, like I was like, he was talking about that car, and he was like that they designed it. They were offering that to managers for a couple of years, and managers didn't want to do that. And then they were offering them. Pardon, I'm talking about different cars. Sorry, different story. I need to cut it here because I misplaced them in my head. Sorry, I misplaced them in my head, but. It's an interesting story, so I will just continue. Z3 or Z4 before they made it, they were offering it to managers.
The show car.
To managers, they didn't want it for years, and then they came to them and they said, "We want something totally fresh to design." And he just took out the sketch out of his desk, and they were like, this is the most amazing thing we saw, and he was like, we are offering you this for years. But, but connects with the story about world not being ready for some stuff. So and that's how they produced it.
Exactly, and that's why. Go ahead, Tuko.
No, go on.
No,
probably had something to say.
Please, I'm listening.
I doubt about it. It's the game-changing thing, right? And what BMW did, they changed the game forever on car design. You know, like every car you see until this day, they have this language, you know, like with the highlights and cruise lines, and you know that Chris Bangle brought in the past with this concept car, you know, like as a consequence of you know, the shape and the concept, you know, so that's why I think it's effective, you know, because it changed a mindset for the car industry, for the car design. It challenged the suppliers and the manufacturing aspects, and you know, and change it for good, you know. So again, when we lack creativity and new things, there's always an opportunity for something new to come, and I think, you know, that was a very good example of it.
But
I think.
Sorry, Arthur.
Yeah, I think just complimenting what Gal was saying. Rodrigo, sorry.
Gal is Rodrigo Galdino, guys. Tuco is Arthur Martin, so you know.
Yeah, sorry.
People here in the US, they used to call me Rod. That's so.
Yeah. So
you know,
what Rod said.
Hot rod.
No, I think products like Gina, it's something that it's not only like a functional, like form and functional, perfectly marriage, but it's something that also a big part of going back to your question, is what is a big part of a good design is a good design inspires people. It makes people people dreams. It brings dreams like to people's head. It's like, oh man, I wish we could do that. So inspired people to try more. So it's like any good movie you watch, like when do you believe like when people watched like 2001 for the first time, it didn't inspire like a whole generation to be an astronaut or something, like a science fiction, like a profession? That definitely did, because it was so inspiring. It's inspirational. It was something that pushed people's minds into this dreamy. I forgot the word. I'm sorry.
Dreaming state.
Yeah, this dreaming, exactly. This dreaming state, and that's part of a good design, though. A good design has to inspire.
I think also not just design, good art. Right. Good art needs to inspire. That's my opinion.
Exactly. Yeah, we're using design here, but we could stretch that to art or anything like fashion or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a good piece of creation should inspire people.
Yeah, and that's interesting thing, because psychology is very connected to design and art, very, very connected.
Totally.
And I remember one thing from Italy when I was studying car design there, and we had a guy coming, and he was talking about supercars and Italian cars especially, because you know that the Italian cars are very curved. They have some of the best curves on them and so on.
Very sensual and sexy.
Very sexual, and that was the subject I was gonna talk. And they were saying, he told us that Alfa, for example, had Sophia Loren on the walls in 70s and 80s. They had Sophia Loren everywhere. She was their inspiration, curves on the woman. And then he said that the car, they thought of the car when you look that it's a metal woman. That it's a metal woman, and that it had curves like that. They were trying to translate, she was a sex symbol at that moment, and they were trying to implement that in their design. And they did that by reading before about how the sculptors in Italy tried to that time to put women's beauty in the sculptures. And they used that in the cars and tried to make a psychological moment in the brain where the switch turns on and you are like literally, some chemicals are released where you literally, like you're looking at hot women. And for a long time, Italian cars were bought 90% by male. and it was a hidden statistics, I remember, because 90% of them were bought by mail because they were triggering that psychological response. Later, of course, the car started changing. Lambo is one of the examples when he has a little bit rougher edges and stuff like that, Hammer and so on. But it was super interesting to me how psychologically they were trying to lure you to buy their car. And
man, that's so true.
That's so true, because we are a sensorial being as humans, right? Like we live in a sensorial world, so like everything that attracts us, either if it is visually or like a nice smell or something something that has a nice touch. So that's what makes us like alive. Like that happened to you, like sometimes when you look into a product that you want to touch it, that you want to hold it because you want to feel it, how it feels in your hand, like you want to touch the material. So that's pretty important too, right? Like again, it has to bring not only like this dreamy station of mind, but like it has to inspire you to like it wants to make you to touch it and hold it, to have the experience, right? I think this is part of us, like going to your point.
But yeah, it's exploration thing. Like when we were, even the caimans, they liked to explore stuff like eating different type of meat, eating different type of vegetables, preparing them differently. There is something in our human nature where we like to explore and check stuff that nobody explored.
Yeah.
So when the new car comes out, it's something new for everybody, and everybody wants to test. When a game comes out, a new game, the first thing that happens, everybody is trying to play it differently. Different roads, it's in our nature. Definitely in our nature. Great subject. I love this.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and just to complement what you guys were saying about like the sensuality in car design, that is so true. And in design as well, and art, it needs to attract people. I think one of the functions of art and design is to attract, and the desire, it's a very important aspect of the good design as well. Like when you see, for example, again using Arthur's example, the iPhone, for example, right? You want to have it, you want to use it. It's kind of a desire, like I want to have an Apple Watch. I want to have the AirPods, and to touch the AirPod case and to hear the noise and to feel the material, to touch the material, and it's all about the same sensorial aspects of sexuality. So you want to touch, you want to smell, you want to feel. There's nothing dirty on it. It's just like a human nature is like. It's Freud can explain that.
But it's true. It's true. Three things that humans need to do is sleep, mate, and eat. And that will never change. 20,000 years after this, it will never change. It's our need. You can't avoid it.
Yeah, like going back to what you were saying, Rod. The simple experience of opening the box, dude. When you open it, the box, the top and the bottom, they slide out like so nicely that, dude, you want to open box like that forever. It's such like a good experience, and that's what a good design needs to bring, the experience. Though, I think Steve Jobs used to say that the good design is about experience, not about like the way it looks. Of course, the way it looks is important for us because again, we are visual beings as well. Like it's saying that's it's part of the central experience as well. But it has to bring you this incredible experience in all senses, like opening the box, handling the object, like using it at a daily basis, like how that enables your life to do. Like it makes it simple, it makes it harder, and that's why UI and UX are so important these days.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's all about experience. To code. Yeah.
That's really true. That's really true, and I absolutely agree on that. But isn't it interesting now? If you go to your student days, I will go first there back. Like, it was interesting for me because car design guys, I studied first industrial design because in Serbia you don't have car design. So first industrial.
We did the same.
Yeah, that's how it goes. When you don't have car design, you need to go industrial design.
Yeah.
And
that's what we did, right?
There was no other option. But I was, after everything, very happy that I did that, because then I understood ergonomy and function. And then I came there, and it was interesting always in car design when I see it that students don't want to make something new. They just want to sketch. And functionality, most of the students, I don't know if that is your experience, but when I talk with guys and professors, most of them have that experience, that students only want to sketch something new, but not functionally, just aesthetically. And we had in a class guy, he was, the professors loved him in the beginning, really loved him. He had amazing skills with sketching, but he was sketching cars without windows. And I was always, okay, it's possible to work, you can put camera, but do you know how much easier it is to remove the function of the glass and for the car to work than to have it? It's different totally. And for me it was shocking that 90% of them didn't want to explore something new, like opening differently, different position of the wheels. Everybody just wanted to sketch cars. Isn't it that interesting that 90% of students enter like that in the field, and they don't want to explore, just sketch? For me, it was very interesting.
Yeah, no.
That's the easiest way to express yourself, I guess. I mean, if you have an idea, you have something in your mind, you want to put it on the paper, right? But to put it on a paper so like quickly and fast, you just put that feeling. You don't think about it, because you just put out where you're feeling right now. And that's why sometimes people did just want to sketch. But solving problems, it takes time. It takes hours, days. Like you need sketch over sketch, re-sketching, remodeling everything, rethinking the entire thing, the entire project. And that takes time. And people, they want it right now. They want it for the next minute. And that's why even today, I would say more like 90 to 95% of my Instagram timeline is just beautiful sketches. They're not solving any problem, right? They're just beautiful, like nicely rendering sketches. It's okay too. It's not. I'm not saying that's wrong. I do it as well. Sometimes I just like want to put a sketch on there. I just want to try a different form, a different shape, and that shape would not serve for any purpose but only being pretty. I'm not solving any problem, just like putting something out there. But the projects we are involved that takes time, those are the meaningful ones, because we're putting more effort. We're trying to solve something in there. We're trying to bring a solution for one problem. And this is hard. This is not easy. And those are the moments that you feel like, yeah, maybe I'm doing something here that might change the perception of people. And then at least for me, I want to put more effort in there. And then I have like several different side projects that I'm keeping working on, but they're not good yet to put it out there, because I think I'm not solving all the problems in there. And like the motorcycle, you had it on the screen. I just did it because I want to explore like a nice simple shape, the Pulsar one. But people brought me so many questions that I like, oh, how does it turn? How do you do this? I still low to the ground. A lot of suspension work. Like, oh fuck! Now I need to focus more time and try to solve it. And that's why I'm not putting any more sketches on my bike out there anymore, because I'm still trying to solve some of the issues. And for me, solving issues is fun. I always like puzzles. I always like to play with like a Lego or stuff like that. I like try to create something that's meaningful and that works. And like you said, Darko, I think because of our industrial design background, we tend to be like that, to think like that. Like the moment you start like talking about the guy that wanted to do a car without the windows, in my brain it came like, how can I solve that? Maybe if I don't have windows, I can have like a transparent aluminum. Okay, it's quite expensive, but it makes the car a lot lighter because glass is heavy. And for economy, if it is electric car, of course the weight matters. but it's a trade-off. I would spend more money, but I'll get more mileage. So my brain started to working like that. Like
exactly.
I started bringing questions and try to come up with solutions for it. And and that's part of like a thinking. And I'm not only thinking about the shape. I'm trying to reason why I will use that shape. I think it's. Let me just finish, Gal. Like I think it's important for designers to understand that now, and most of them they don't. They just want to put something beautiful out there. I'm not saying it's wrong, but it's nice if you spend more time and try to solve some issues, right?
Those extra projects, the ones where you put the effort to solve something, that's the projects that will give you work.
Yeah, exactly. And that's for me. That's what is important when someone send me a Rod can talk about that too, because he probably get tons of portfolios every day. But what I'm always looking for on portfolios, it's side projects. I know it's important to have a project that you do for a big company or for a company, because that tells me how that person deals with daily work, like with a real job. But side projects is important to understand the passion of the people in that subject, how passionate he is or she is on a design environment, right? And that's really important. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Gal.
No, I was interrupting you. Actually, I was just going to say when we were talking about function and design, and you're getting some comments about your bike. To me, that bike is the design of the year. And the reason why you can have a lot of questions about, how it's going to turn, how it's going to work. There are two different things, right? So design, production design and concept design. And the concept design, the function of the concept design is to provoke, is to change some games, and as Chris Bangle did. And I think what amazes me the most on Arthur's work is his influence, as you himself was mentioning that, like when you get emotional on one simple image or a single design, and it inspires you for the rest of your year, like doing stuff similar to that. And we see a lot that happening on portfolios, like people trying to do what Arthur has on his portfolio. You see a lot of people trying to do the same thing as Arthur is doing. And to me, this is why Arthur is a game changer, and he had a lot of influence on people. And that bike, for example, is a huge inspiration for me. The simplicity and how it's provoking manufacturing aspects, driving aspects, like in fashion design, right? You see those crazy, beautiful, fashion pieces on runways around the world, on fashion, conventions and stuff. And you ask yourself, I'm never going to use a hat that size. I'm never going to use a pant like that looks like
like a garbage nylon. Yeah.
Exactly.
like MC Hammer.
Yeah.
I actually do use pants like MC Hammer, by the way.
Good to know. I have a garbage bag. You know that garbage bags were very, very famous, like 2012, 2013. All fashion designers were creating something with them.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it was fun time. Sorry for interrupting.
No, absolutely. It's always that's the thing, man. It's like you can't touch this. It's funny you mentioned that, because it's provoking. Like you can ride this bike. You can't ride this bike, but the execution is so beautiful, is so perfect
that you need to love it, literally. Literally.
Exactly. You have to make it work.
So simple. Like it's like an Apple for motorbikes.
That's what I'm saying. So is the concept design that has the only function that is to provoke people, to provoke other designers and manufacturers and bike lovers, and it's breaking some rules. And that's, to me, what says a lot about the genius of Arthur Martins. Is that is provoking, is changing games, and
yeah, definitely. When they start copying you, there is no question. There is no question anymore if you're a good designer when they start copying you. And there is a lot of people copying Tuco, and a lot of them are copying him. I can say that from Instagram, one period from 2017 2018, everything was in his signature.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of you, because of Creative Pod.
Because of your style, Creative Pod, just a little bit.
I don't think it's copying. I think when you find something you like, you find something that you identify yourself as, like, oh, I like that. I can see myself like doing that, and then it's not a copy. It's just I see it as a compliment, dude. I see it as a homage. Like, I mean, a homage. Different ways to say that word. When we started our careers, we were like getting influenced by the artists back then, and I like Daniel Simon, right? It's a huge influence for everyone still these days.
A beast.
Yeah. So his style, the way he seems design, it was a totally huge influence on everyone on the early 2000s. And then still today, I mean, I could see myself doing stuff like Daniel Simon if I started flipping back on my portfolio from that age, from that time. A lot of my stuff, they look like Daniel Simon stuff. Yeah, because I was so in love with his stuff, and then that totally changed my way of doing, like, thinking and creating things like sketching. Yeah, so I think if you be able to pick our style today, you Rod, and if you can like break it into if it was a piece of DNA, if you could break it into pieces and start studying it, it's a little bit of everything, right? I have a little bit of DARMAR on my stuff, a little bit of Rod on my stuff, a little bit of Daniel Simon, a little bit of John Fry, right? I have a little bit of like a Felix Godard, like everyone is a little bit, but I put it on my own taste, on my own flavor. I mixed it on my own flavor. And that goes back to Creative Pod, which was exactly
Creative Pod.
That's a Creative
Pod. Really
exactly like that. Yeah.
But who said? Sorry for interrupting. Who said the best designers they copy? They don't design new stuff. Who said that? I totally forgot.
I don't remember though. I know we're trying to call, but I don't remember.
Somebody said the best designers, they don't draw new stuff, they copy, and that's completely true, because you said it's not copying.
A good artist still.
Yeah,
something like that, right?
Something like that. I forgot the complete sentence, but the point is that. And it's interesting because all of us are, let's say, copying from other artists, but implementing in our way, and that's I think completely true, because I was also influenced by you guys a lot in Creative Pod, by all of you, like literally all. I think at one point there was 40 artists or something like that. Each artist had different style, and each artist implemented their stuff in my work and tried to improve it. Sid, for example, his style was fitting into mine a lot also.
Oh man.
Yeah, he was one of the guests on my interview also. And that's interesting about students trying to cut the corners. I don't think that cutting corners is good, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's fine if you try to not copy, but if you try to if you're trying a different technique and that technique is totally based on someone else, it's all good. I mean, you can pretext on that, but don't use as your own work. I think that's what I have to say. It's fine to try to emulate other person's technique for studies, but don't use it as your signature. You can use it, but then you're always going to be seen as the guy that's copying the other person. I mean, if you create your own flavor, you create your own signature, people always recognize you. Oh yeah, this that guy. You don't even need to see. I can recognize Galdino stuff, like Rodrigo stuff, just by seeing his sketches. I don't need to see the signature to know that is him, right? Because he created signature, and that's why it's so important. And by creating that signature, by mixturing all the things that he mixed to come with his style, he made him think differently as well. So for me, at least, the technique influences a lot the way I design. I mean, the way I see shapes and forms. And that's why my technique is the way it is, because it's the way I found to showcase the shapes and forms I was looking for. And it's not driven by only an artistic view. It's definitely a technique that it's like a technology, right? When you have a technology to make something, you know that you can use that to make screens or to make like a plastic or whatever. So I use this sort of a technology, like the technique, to create those designs, because that's the way I mix your stuff and put stuff together to make them look like the way they look. And that's the same way for Rodrigo, I think. It's a bit philosophical thinking, but that's the way I can put my vision out there.
It's very true. It's very true. It's maybe philosophical, but it's true. All artists are philosophers. All designers are philosophers, you know. And that's absolutely I agree on that. By the way, do you still have contact with students, guys, or you are now in different positions completely?
No, we do. I mean, I do. I mean, Instagram. It's an awesome tool for that, right? I talk with a lot of guys. I like to be social. I'm not a very social person in person, but
I'm not a very social person in person. Okay.
Yeah, but because I'm a bit shy. But like on social media,
I would never guess that. To be honest, I would never guess that.
I'll do it. Yeah, I talk a lot with my friends, but with people that I never met, I'm quite reserved. But in social media, I like to talk and to connect with different people, right? In the different areas of design and art. Because I'm always learning though from old guys, old fellas like us, like new guys that's coming out there. There's always something new to learn. There's always something different to explore. And the time I see, this is cool. Why this guy is doing it? I try to understand, right? So I'm gonna talk to him. Why do you do this way? So and then we basically become friends and buddies, like Insta buddies, like I like to say.
And I have one question, and I'm very interested to know this. And I haven't been talking with anybody from car design, and this is, I think, perfect moment, because you're always saying how the industry is changing. In 2015, when I was still in the industry, there wasn't a lot of female workers in car design, which was started to change at that period. Did it change a lot in last 5 years? How did that change? It was like 5% maybe of five female designers, and they started appearing, and they started doing completely different stuff than men. And it was great because it was changing the industry again, you know. So did that change? Is it now 50-50 or is still in progress? How is that working?
I think it's still in progress, but it's in a good pathway. We see more and more females doing a better job than others, and I'm so happy for that, because equality first of all. Also, I mean, in the past, the world is very masculine, and honestly, we are missing so many opportunities, and now letting women have their voices, it's so important, because we are seeing the world in a perspective we never saw, and that's the change we were talking about, right? We have to celebrate this moment. It's amazing, and in the past, in Brazil, especially when we were working on VW and GM design studios, you it was not usual to see girls sketching, like designers.
In Italy,
And
3 classes, sorry for interrupting, in Italy, 4 generations before me and my generation, 23 guys.
Just men.
23 guys, like testosterone everywhere, like
Yeah.
and then a girl came in the next generation, and they said the whole class was much calmer. It was completely calmer environment, and completely different. And I remember checking out a couple of months ago, there was a Nissan lady that had completely, and it was like in 90s, she had a complete crew of the girls. And it was the car they designed was completely different from anything I saw, and it was fabulous.
That's awesome.
And it was great. And I always think that the different cultures need to enter car design also. That's my experience, because design, that's how it changes. Different people entering all the time. But yeah, I just wanted to know, the question was, is it now balancing 50-50? Because my expectations are that it should be around this period, 50-50 on the students.
I don't think it's not 50-50. I don't know if you talk about universities. I cannot answer that question because I'm not in contact with universities. Just like I said, mostly in Instagram and social media. But on the studios, we have more women working, but not as much as men still. Like I mean, it's not even close to 50-50. There might be some studios out there that might have more women, but it's not common.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
it takes time to balance, because before it was it was different. You study this, and now it will take time to catch up. That's just takes time. It can't happen overnight.
It's progressing. I think
carry on.
No, it's progressing. It's something that is happening.
Yeah, I have a strong opinion about this. I think if you want to be successful, if you want to create a successful studio, putting out there like the most amazing ideas, you have to have a good balance. Like you have to balance different mindsets on your studio, right? Like women, guys, like whatever, that from different areas of the globe, because not everyone lives in Europe. They have the same mentality. If you move from city to city or country to country, they're gonna have a different perception because they have a different experience in life. Their background is completely different, and they see things differently because of that, right? And I think if you want to have like a successful studio with the most amazing ideas out there, you have to collect these different types of minds and build your team up around this, celebrate the diversity, right? I know it's cliche, and some people, they might think, oh, this is bullshit, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I think this is really important. I mean, and if you're not open to that idea, I mean, sorry, you're not open to the 21st century, because that's the world we're living now.
This is my opinion about it. This is my opinion, and it's opinion about everything like this. I will look at. Serbian people are very sporty people, and I did sports all my life. And everybody, when you're younger, teaches you there is your opponent. You need to win against him. If you can't compete with everybody, then you shouldn't be competing. That's my opinion. So there is no restrictions for anybody. Everybody should be a competitor. And if you by yourself can't compete with everybody else, then you're in a problem. That's how I perceive it. So you need to give everybody a chance to compete against you. If you lose, you lose. That's your problem. And I think many people are afraid of losing. What's gonna happen here? Everybody, and that's not just gender. That's not for nationality. That's not for anything. Like, people are afraid, and they're trying to make restrictions so they don't lose. Less opponents, less possibility of losing.
Yeah, that's bullshit, dude. Right? I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah, because if you want to be better, though, if you want to be a better version of yourself, you have to raise the bar. If you lower the bar, you just like an average dude, like an average person. I mean, if you don't raise that bar every time you do something new, and for me, there's no, like I said, there's no losing. There's always learning.
Yeah.
You don't lose. If you think you're loser, if you think you lose something and that you're a worse person, that's wrong. That's the wrong thinking. If you lose, that I'm quoting here, if you lose that, that's an opportunity for you to understand why you wasn't successful on that thing you put yourself on. Like, what do you have to learn now for the next time, so you can maybe cover your flaws or maybe try to get better. And that's the only way we move on, right? We go further. If you don't think like that,
you grow from it. Absolutely.
Exactly. You have to grow. You have to think that way. That's why I like to say there's no losing. It's always learning. So why did I learn this time?
Yeah. There is also that thing when I was studying in Belgrade. We have that saying in Serbia. I'm just trying to translate it to English. I can't translate it to English. I'm trying, but I will eventually be able. Just give me a couple of minutes. I will return to that. But a lot of students, they try to compete with on the local level artists, and they try to be the best on local level. And I was always like, man, there is a whole world of artists out there. If you want to be the best or the good one, you need to compete with the market. And the market has opened tremendously the last 7 years because of Facebook and everything. And now I think people are a bit more connected. And I'm always saying to students or anybody who sends me the message, I always tell them, you need to compete with the best if you want to succeed in car design, in concept art, in industrial design. You can sketch it as much as you want at home, but every time you need to compare your sketch with the best on ArtStation or Behance. I don't know which is now a website for car design. Car body design used to be good, and Simcom. Oh yeah, Simcom.
Simcom's still good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. So, what kind of advice would you give to students about that competition and entering industry?
So that's the question I get the most. I think how to get better, right?
Yeah.
And I like to say, if you want to get better, if you want to beat someone, beat yourself.
Yeah.
If you beat yourself every day, if you try to beat yourself every day in your life, you're gonna be great because you're always learning. Don't sit back on your success. If you just sit back and on top of your success, you're doomed. So you have to always beat yourself. Of course, there's always someone out there that you might think that's better than you because he's on a different level and blah, blah, blah. Of
John
course,
Fry, Arthur Martins.
Like there's always like a John Fry, like a Rodrigo Galdino out there. Yeah, DARMAR.
Who's that?
But but if you beat yourself, if you try to be a better version of yourself every time, I think that's the way to go. Because and you will always be evolving. You always be being better. You're always changing. And it's funny because we're talking about like different subjects, but I will always go back to learning, evolving, and changing, right? So that people can already see that's a big thing for designers. Not stop in one time of your life and think that's the best time and you want to leave on that time forever, because that's not true. Life is not like that. Life changes. Right? There's its ups and there is its downs, right? So if you're up, fine, you're good, you're happy, hey. But if you're on a low, you might think, oh, maybe I'm not that good. And when you're thinking you're not that good, that's the time to focus, concentrate on your goals and think, what can I do next? How can I be better? How can I succeed? How can I surpass it? Right.
And I have no shame to sorry, Tuco. I'm just agreeing with you 200% on that. And I'm not ashamed to say I'm on that position right now. Sometimes you have to stop and make a review on your own work and see where you have to, improve yourself and where you have to beat yourself, as you're saying, right? Daily basis. But there are some times that you have to just stop, and see what's going on. And because you're not satisfied with your own work, not comparing to others' work, but when you see your work is not satisfying you in a way that okay, so I'm my worst client, I'm my worst competitor, and I'm my worst critic at the same time. So, and that thing makes you evolve every day, right? And I am in that position right now. I was reviewing my own work, my own portfolio, like for months already, and seeing what I'm missing the most, and I'm working on that right now because I think, as you said, like you have to beat yourself in order to stay competitive. And when you use another guy as an influence, as an inspiration, like to me, is my number one influence in my life in terms of art and design, always been Doug Chain. And this guy to me is an example, like for everything, and everything he says to me is like sacred, like a Bible, and he kept evolving himself, and I what I'm trying to say is use their knowledge as an influence, and not like, oh, I want to be better than Doug Chang, which is impossible. But I mean, I don't want to be better than Arthur Martins. I just want to be myself, and I want my work to stand out by itself, and that is competitive, That is competitive. If you want to do like, oh, I want to do this surface treatment better than Arthur Martins, I want to beat him. You're never gonna get it, because you're not looking at your own work. You're not looking at your own development, and you're always going to be behind Arthur Martins. You're always going to be behind Darko Darmar, the Prince of Serbia.
Yes, thank you.
And yeah, so and for example, you, Darko, you were a huge influence on me. For many years, I was just working on 2D, and seeing your work as an inspiration and having you as an example of achievement and the level of your work, I got really inspired by you and by Fausto, and I'm starting doing some 3D work too, because that was my what I'm missing on my artwork. If you see my artwork, doesn't have too many 3D work on it, and I think it's like totally. I mean, it's a mistake, right? Nowadays, the artists they are artists and designers. They're working with 3D heavily, and I don't want to beat you. I don't want to beat Fausto. Like, to me, it's impossible, because you guys have you guys' own position, not in the market, but in the spectrum, right? In the art spectrum, and I want to evolve myself to have my own language, to have my own perception of 3D dimensionality, and I'm doing that to myself. Having you guys as a huge influence, a huge inspiration, and that's really what it's important to me.
Thank you for the kind words. I really appreciate that, putting me in the same sentence with Fausto.
Darko, you what you did, man, it's incredible.
Thank you
the
so
level
much.
of your work, it's insane, and I'm a fan of your work, man. It's
right back at you both. Right back at you both. I'm really happy that we all influence each other here, and this is my opinion, my humble opinion. What you were saying, beat yourself, and that's completely true. If you are competing with the other guy, it's okay. You're looking at his work, you say, okay, Rodrigo does these great illustrations, Arthur does these great surfaces, oh my god, he's rendering everything, and you're observing how good it is. then you start competing. But for me, in which manner you can compete? You can compete in the manner, okay, I want to raise my quality of work to that quality of work. But if you start comparing your work, oh my God, still worse than Arthur and Rodrigo, oh my God, still worse than Arthur and Rodrigo, the ego is gonna hit in. And that's when the problems arises. That's my experience. But if you can detach yourself, your ego, which is mentioned so much, but yourself, you can detach it from your work, you will progress like crazy, because you will have a master that influences you and you will grow. If your ego is trying to get bigger, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work.
Exactly.
And you will fall in a pit and you will die. And you see that with a lot of young designers, that they can't handle their ego, because it of course takes time to control that beast. It's a very nasty beast that can jump around in everybody of us. And you see that they start putting the leg to each other. I've seen that a lot in Italy, a lot, and I never liked it. And I think that the professors need to teach the things that you're speaking now about in the universities, so that students can psychologically prepare themselves for that kind of games, because art and design do play games on you and your brain. That's my humble opinion.
Exactly.
And like Rod said, and you just mentioned that right now, I think you got to be humble to understand that you're not the best artist or the best professional in the world. You own your own journey to become an awesome professional, an awesome designer or person, and that journey is long. That journey is probably going to last your entire life. Like Seed Meat, for instance, he didn't stop. He even on his late ages, he was awesome and good because he was always pushing. He was always trying to learn, try to understand. And you got to be humble to understand that. If you see yourself as the best designer in the world, better than everyone else, you're on that spot that we mentioned before. You're on that pile of success that you think you're going to stay on top forever, and you're not, because life has its own ups and downs, right? Like I said. So you got to be humble, though. You have to be humble to understand you're not the best designer out there. You're on the way to probably be one. But that way is long. That path is pretty long. It's like a long experience, like lifelong learning.
It's a lifestyle, literally. It's a lifestyle, literally.
Yeah.
Did Socrates say, "I know that I don't know anything"? Did he say, I think that, and that's the sentence that I always follow. Yeah. I don't know shit, man. I don't know shit. There is always a possibility for me to improve, and I'm sorry that I'm swearing, but I really mean this. And there is always possibility, and every time I'm speaking with any designer, I'm like a freaking sponge. Doesn't matter the level of his, because I can always hear something interesting. I can always hear something interesting.
Yeah,
and you're right, dude. Yeah, and you're right. Yeah. You gotta be like that. You gotta be humble too. There's no one knows everything. No one knows the secret of everything. Even anyone in the world that you speak, that you chat with, it has something to teach you. Even if the youngest person, the most humble, simple person, they always have something to teach you. And when you're talking to someone, try to listen, right? Try to listen to what that person has to say, because there's always something in everyone. And this is one thing. This is one of the most important things that we talk today.
Yeah. There is a book about Pixar that I read in the past, and it's something Pixar it's amazing to me because the philosophy, the work philosophy there, right? And I think there is no dumb idea, right? There's no stupid idea. I like what you said, Arthur, about listen to other people. It's important. Whatever is the level of the opinion, you sometimes you think that opinion of this guy is stupid. No, it's not. It's that person's point of view, and you have to listen to it. And every idea is valuable to put on the table for you to start a discussion. So there's no such a thing about dumb idea. So what I mentioned about Pixar is we are talking about failure, we are talking about being humble, and I read this part in the book that was saying that every time there was a failure, in something, in a presentation, or you try a character performance or something, and you didn't succeed, in the presentation, the people applaud you because you tried, and it getting closer to a final resolution. Every time you try and fail, you're actually getting closer to a successful result. Mm-hmm. So that should be celebrated, and every opinion should be listened. So that's something that I'm missing a little bit in the market, and the respect with other professionals. Also, that's why I love the concept art community. That I'm kind of not official, but I'm always involved in something. Because it's a long story because of my green card situation, that now I finally got my green card a few months ago. So, but I was always in the side of conversations and in car design, unfortunately, I have to be honest, I don't see as much as, people helping each other, pushing each other's work. Maybe Arthur will disagree with me a little bit, but in concept art community, game and film industry, I see a lot of people pushing each other, and helping each other, criticizing, and in a good way, in a productive way, and doing marketing other people's work, and a few people like Arthur in the car industry do that. It's still like a very competitive field. Concept art might be really competitive too, but artists are more helping each other, I think, on concept art community than car community. And that's why one of the reasons I love, the film and game industry. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it's something that I
know
feel,
you're right.
It's something that I feel, it's still, I still, every semester I go to art center since 7 years ago. On Viscount 7 classes, I'm invited by Alex Earl to his classes, and just to speak with the guys, to speak with the students, and do some demo there. And they're, always doing like concept art, instead of car design. And they like, whoa, it's something different. But I see how, competitive is that environment. Like, a guy sitting on the corner sketching his own thing, and not letting everybody see. I think it's kind of changing it, but I still see that kind of protective, behavior on car design. And I see more collaboration on concept art community.
I think you're right, and then I actually mentioned that the other day. I was talking to Cameron. Cameron Brass is a colleague of mine. He works with me at Canoo.
Oh, it's a beast.
And he's dude. You got to see his hand. His line drawings. It's insane. The guy's a machine, like a printer. And I was talking to him because we like to do some industrial design side projects for Render Weekly. Every week there's a different subject. You got to do something in render. So that pushes us to learn a render engine and do something different and stay being creative. and I was talking with him about this, like how cool and nice the industrial design community is compared to car design community. There are a lot of people out there that they still like try to help students and other designers, but not as much as industrial design. Because I met some really talented people doing this industrial design experience that I'm doing right now, and they help me out with a lot of stuff, like how to render some detail. They're always open to give feedback on your stuff. They always compliment. It's really nice. It's definitely really nice. And car design, there are some people that still do it, but I can feel there's always this jealousy in the air, right? But like Darko said, it's a very harsh industry and very harsh environment. So that's why people that's how they learn to keep their way, right? To keep things close to their chest.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but I see that, Rod. I don't think you're crazy. That's definitely true.
No. Both of you are very right. I will give my opinion about it because I had my fair share in that industry and seeing the worst and the best. I think the problem arises from that just entering the industry is impossible, especially from 2011 when the economic crisis catch up. From 2009 it catch up, and it was literally impossible to get a job in Europe. I don't know how it was in USA, but in Europe it was insane to get a job. And people were super competitive, and professors were feeding students literally to fight each other. And getting a job was like a mythological creature, literally. Like you will easier find a dragon on the earth than to get a job. We were presented like that, and that scares people. They start being afraid. Their ego starts being afraid. Some invested a lot of money, some borrowed, and there is a lot of fear. And I think that fear is fed also in the companies. That you can lose a job, that there is your back of your mind, you're thinking there are other students coming out that will be better than me, and I'm not working anymore as I used to, blah, blah, blah. And I must say I met very bad people in the car industry. Very, very bad. In concept art, not so much. But I will honestly say I met some very difficult people in the car design. Very difficult, like backstabbing and stuff like that. I saw it everywhere, and giving feedback also. But I will tell you one thing that I realized today. World is so fast that people are forgetting to ask for the feedback, and I realized that on my Facebook. that once I post an image on the Facebook, and I want a critic, everybody comments something or just likes. Oh, nice work, like this. And then I write, can you give me comments and critics? And you will get immediately 20 comments. Immediately, like, I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't like this. But like we are forgetting that you are posting work to be criticized. Because there is also that where people are thinking, okay, he is posting something, let me just like it or not do anything because he's not asking for anything else. People are forgetting to ask for the critic. That's my opinion. Literally, the world is too fast that we started to forget that somebody is maybe needing a critic.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. Maybe it's our fault too.
No, that was my experience because I like when Rodrigo said when Gal said there is no bad question. There is no bad question. And I completely agree with that. And when I was studying, or now when I give lectures, when I was in Prague, for example, people are afraid to ask questions. And I was giving a workshop there, and I made a system because I saw that people are shy during. I'm not a shy person. I'm super unshy person. If there is a word unshy, I'm in a dictionary of it. And I saw that a lot of people have problem with that. And I feel bad when they have problem with that. And then for first 10 minutes in Prague, I told to them that they can ask any question. And half of them, when they start asking the question, they say, I have a stupid question. Like it's implemented in them that it's a stupid question. Of course, some were stupid, but it doesn't matter until you ask it. You will not know if it's stupid or not. Some were very creative. and then we started sketching. And I have a lecture about that stuff for around 15 minutes, and it's maybe time that I make some YouTube video about how you question people and how you proceed with questions, because design for me equals questions. And the more questions you ask, the more questions you ask, the more questions you answer, the more questions you avoid because they are not able to be answered, the better design will be. And it's a fine balance. So yeah. And I'm always like, how can you be a designer if you can't ask a question? Like,
yes. And I kind of relate with you, Darko, in that. And also, Arthur know me better than my brother today, nowadays.
You're married, as you said.
Literally. No, literally. We spend a lot of time together, and this guy is like a brother to me, and awesome. Nowadays, and I am totally the opposite of him. I am on social media. I'm very not social. I'm isolated since the beginning, on social media. But when you meet me, I'm very expensive. I talk loud, I make jokes, I ask stupid questions, I put stupid questions on the table because I think, my tongue it's unstoppable as well, like you, and like yours. And when I'm lecturing or even at art center, because people are very quiet nowadays, right? Because of the social media thing, they prefer to talk on social media than talk to each other. And when they meet me for the first time, they see, who's this guy speaking like a clown in front of a,
who's this guy? We never saw him on social media. It's like he never existed.
Yeah, and like talking and loud and everything. That's allow people to feel free and open to ask stupid questions, to feel like free themselves of keeping the questions to themselves and getting out of the room with more questions, So I think your attitude and Arthur's attitude at social media, it's really it needs to be celebrated as well, because we need to be open and make people to feel open to ask questions. Like, I'm a 44-year-old guy, and
so like my book, Rodrigo 44.
Oh yes, dude.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh man, that's so true, man. By the way, we can't wait for your book, dude. We can't wait.
Thank you so much. I feel so warm around my heart when you say that.
Stop teasing us, man. Just the book.
I will send you with a special signature and toy.
And toy.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it, dude. I can't wait to see it.
Thank you so much. I can't wait to publish it. Like, it has been a wild ride, and finally we are finishing that.
I know.
It has been a wild ride. Thank you for being part of it and for watching for 3 years how it developed.
No, man, we can't wait.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this. This gives me extra boost, and I'm so thankful that you said this, because it always, when somebody tells me like, I can't wait for your book, it literally gives me a boost for next 6 months to work again. Like, so guys, if you have art friends that are working on some project, tell them that you like the project, because you will give them boost like Arthur and Rodrigo just gave to me. So yeah.
Yeah. And it's true. It truly is, man. First of all, the subject you were embracing, it's such a beautiful, it's beyond design. I think it's humanitarian. It's the cause is really important, especially now, Darko. I can say that to you on this pandemic times, that we could never imagine in our lifetime we could be, part of this thing, and especially, diabetes. It's critical in this time, And I think you're going beyond design and art. You're going to like beating a, a different evil, like a very important evil that needs to be beaten. And I applaud you on that, man. I mean,
Thank you
hats
so
off,
much.
hats off, and you know, you are such a you know a horrible human being.
A prince. Please call me prince. I'm joking. Somebody will put me in a mental institution. It's just a matter of days because of this prince thing that I'm joking about. Like everybody, like, what does this guy think about himself? It started with my Bulgarian brothers. They are to blame because they started calling me like that on festivals. So it started to catch up. I'm not gonna take more time of your guys, but can we answer just some questions? I know you are very busy and it has been 1.5 hours, but can we answer a couple of questions?
It's all good. It feels like 20 minutes.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying this interview. I love when I have guys that like to talk. If you can see in this interview, I literally asked 2 questions and I didn't need to do anything. The conversation just evolved, you know. So
yeah, that's nice.
We have a question. How design affected in your day-to-day lives, like in a small moment in life?
How design affected in
your day-to-day lives, like in small moments in life. So technically the question is, how does it affect your day-to-day life, but in a small moments? I suppose it's like small things that you do during the day. That's my interpretation of this question.
I remember when I was a kid, and like before going to design school or whatever, right? If you're a kid, your parents, they start like, hey, why don't you become a lawyer? Why don't you become a doctor?
Of course.
And then your friends, oh, but if you become a doctor, you have to study for the rest of your life. And then you decide to join a design school because you love design, right? And they were like, oh, you just have to do these drawings and everything. And that's totally wrong, dude. I mean, if you're a designer, you're never gonna stop to study in your entire life. Don't think that you're gonna end your school times and then that's it. Because like we spoke before, everything changes. Everything is in movement, right? And if you don't follow those changes, if you don't follow that movement, if you don't go along with it, you're lost in time. And then you have to study. So design is a part of your life every minute. I mean, you have to breathe design. You have to think design every time, and that's a curse. It's not exactly. For me, it's kind of like a curse because everything I judge, everything I buy, everything I see, the moment I start interacting with those things, I'm experiencing the design of that thing as well. I'm judging it. I'm trying to understand it. So design is a big part of my life. I actually, if I'm not at work, I'm at home, I'm studying, I'm watching tutorials on YouTube, I'm reading a book about design, I'm watching a movie and then talking to my wife about the photography of that movie, about the concept design, and then I talk with Rodrigo about the concept design of that movie, and then we go deep on details, and then we start thinking about it, right? So for me, design, it's part of my life in every moment. Every single moment, everything I do, if I'm putting stuff on my desk, I'm starting to arrange lay out everything in a way that's either like a parallel or either parallel if the colors are correct, if everything is correct. So it's like a curse because it's part of you. It's like I think it's like Bruce Lee. I think it was Bruce Lee mentioned one time. He was like, you have to learn kung fu and then forget kung fu. It's like breathing, right? You don't have to think about, you have to pay attention that you have to breathe every time. You just breathe. It's part of your life. You know that that's necessary, but it's automatic. It's automatic. I mean, it's not something that you have to focus. It's something organic and natural. So when design becomes something natural and organic in your life, I think that changes everything.
Great things start to happen.
I don't know about Rodrigo and you.
Please, Rodrigo, what do you think about this question?
I think it's a very good question, and I second Arthur on that totally. It's by the time you're going to bed, the time you wake up, and when you're dreaming, you dream about you dream about design, and you leave design. We had this privilege of work in a field that we love since we were kids. And I think we still have dreams. We still have stuff to achieve. My dream is to work on Star Wars, period, one day, and
will happen.
It
will.
I hope God is listening to you, but it won't happen if I don't push myself. If I don't, leave this 24/7, a day. And on car design, I used to say that if it was not for concept art, I would never be a car designer, because the way I see car design is like a movie, a landscape, every aspect on your life. When I see, for example, I just took a photo of a piece of paper on my desk right now. I was imagining a composition, and I'm gonna do a drawing on top of it. It's a piece of paper. I'm gonna send you later, but it's funny because it's like a curse, as Arthur was saying. You're driving somewhere. I see a keyframe everywhere. I see a design in everything. I see form. I see smell, music.
Yeah,
it's crazy, dude. And I also, the sound of things, to me, they have color and design, and every design, every art has a smell, and the senses kind of blend. That it's part of our everyday life. It's I love that question because of that. Art and design to me became 100% of my life. It drives every decision I make. Basically, I'm not saying you have to forget about everything else in your life. You have family, you have other stuff to take care about, your finances and everything. But this is the driving motor to me, art and design. So it's basically everything.
What you said, I really love what you both said. It is a curse. It is a freaking curse, in a good and in a bad way. It spoils a lot of stuff. For example, I needed to start meditating because my brain was spinning so fast that I couldn't catch my thoughts, literally. And I started getting a bit of anxiety from the design because I was looking everything through that eyes. And I started meditating because of that, to calm my brain. And but I think every designer artist needs to go through that period of that happening, because that means that you really love what you're doing and that you're full in it.
Yeah.
Full in it, and that you're full gas and driving the car as fast as you can, and you're there. Sometimes it can be hard, sometimes, and it's not a joke, but yeah, it's a curse. It's a curse. Some can live with it and they become successful, some can't. The way you can do it, it's only your way. Same with your ego that we mentioned previous in conversation. If you can control it, that's the only way. Both are there to be controlled, but are positive, very positive. I think we answered that question. What keeps you free in a professional environment? Chad Phillips asks.
Keeps us free in what sense?
I don't know, it's just, that's the question. What keeps you free in a professional job environment? Maybe the question is, what gives you the freedom to sketch new stuff? I don't know, I'm just trying to interpret it the best.
Okay, that would depend on where you are, right? Because most of the studios, they don't like designers to do their own stuff. They think you're a piece of the company, and then you're a tool in that company, which is not necessary, right? I don't blame, because that's what the industry has been for the last almost 100 years. But you're a human being. You have your own desires, you have your own thoughts, you have your own inspirations and aspirations. So how would you keep a person that's full of creativity contained inside of a box? And if in that box it just opens from time to time, and then specifically shapes that you can only put whatever you have inside of that box out there through that specifically hole using that shape. It's quite hard, right?
Yeah.
We want to put everything that's on your brain that we like it out there in many different shapes and as many times as we want. It's pretty hard to contain creativity when you have your pot full of it. Like you said, you had to meditate to try to focus on things and then try to keep consistent to your work. And you start slowing down your brain thinking that much. I think we all face that in some time in our life, and you're going to have to learn how to deal with it. And then that's what makes everything hard in car design studios. I have a lot of friends. They are really frustrated because they want to do side projects. They want to do more stuff. And the moment they do and then put it out there, someone on the studio just tagged in for a boss, and then the boss comes to talk to him. It's like, hey, why are you posting car sketches out there? You should just sketch for this company. But it's quite hard. It's not easy, dude. It's like you try to tame like a beast. It's pretty hard. And that's why the studios, they have to learn to deal with this. I mean, they have to change their mindset as well. The companies, they have to change their mindset as well. Because if someone wants to leave the company, he will leave the company because of that. And I know many, many, many friends that they did leave a company because of that, because they want to do more. They want to do something else. And the company, the studio, wasn't giving them the chance to do it. I fortunately work for a company that allows me to. My boss is pretty awesome. He lets me do whatever I want. Of course, I do my daily work. This is my main goal when I'm inside of the studio. But it doesn't stop me to do side projects, even when I'm at a studio. We actually talk about it. We actually chat about, it comes to my mind, what are you doing now? Like, I mean, I always have, because that's how I work. I always have the main work and then something else in the background. When I get sick of like just doing lines and moving sections and shapes 3-4 millimeters up and down, which is very tedious sometimes, I just switched back to a side project to keep my brain functioning and like avoid me to kill myself of boredom. So he actually comes to my desk and we start chatting about, why do you do this? Why do we do that? And it's actually encouraged me to do it. So the studio I'm working on is pretty open in that sense. So it gives you freedom. So to keep yourself free in a professional environment doesn't depend only on you. It depends on the environment. The environment enables you to be free. I think that's my answer for that question.
Okay, Rodrigo.
I think depends on the moment as well, right? Depends on the place you work and depend on the moment. If you're in a moment that you're facing, for example, you're really close to production. And you have to deliver small things like, and you have to stay there with the CAD modelers and, in crazy moments for millimeters and engineering heavily involved on it. You don't have time to stay on your desk and do, free stuffs or even sketch for new programs. But you're involved in this production thing. It doesn't allow you to spend much of your time designing new stuff. You have to stay committed to the delivery work, right? So it really depends on the moment in the company as well. So when you're in a concept phase and you just deliver a car for a data for production, and you have to think in a new project, and you're in a very free moment to think about a concept and do research on Instagram and Pinterest and you have this free time to create, it allows you to go further, even have time to do your own thing during lunchtime or doing work, whatever that inspires you. So it's not only the place but also the moment in the company as well, right? In the studio, in the design studio. Of course, if you're in an environment that's, for example, if your boss is really open to your creativity, especially here in California, most of the studios are, so they hire you especially because of your differential. So right, so you know, all the studios I've worked here in California before, they never, they never strict me to do only one thing. They were really open to whatever I could offer, with my concept art and with my, way of thinking. So, I'm lucky, to be honest with you, because I have this differential. Also, at the same time, I'm committed to deliver the day by day work. So if you work for a studio, you have to be committed to the moment as well, right? So if it's
Sure.
time to deliver, production shit, you have to do it because you're hired to do it. So you have to be in line with the moment as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, sure, 100%. You have to be responsible. You were hired to do that job. You have to do that job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think things are changing because more and more I see, like, especially young designers posting their own work on Instagram, and they're already hired for a company. I think companies are starting to understand that's part of the things right now. It's part of the new world, and because they know people, they don't follow companies, they follow people. People follow people. They if they like someone's work, like if like one's work, they're gonna follow that person. And if that person moves to another company, you're gonna start paying attention on that company because you like that person's work. It's like, oh well, let's see what that guy is gonna do now that he's in this company, and that brings attention to their brand as well. So they know how important it is, and I think that's why they are kind of like allowing people to do this, right? I don't know. It's just a thought.
Absolutely. Designers and artists are great marketing tools. They're great marketing tools. As you said, somebody looks at your profile and they want to know in which company you work immediately. So yeah, I completely agree on that. And yeah, you perfectly both answered these questions. So I don't need to add anything. I think it's perfectly described. But we have one more question and we're gonna finish. Roberto Allerando Bautista, I hope I'm pronouncing it good. Does age really matter to become a car or concept designer? That's the question. I will immediately say no, because it doesn't matter how old are you. If you have something that itches you or some dream that you are dreaming at night, you should pursue it. And I know designers that started at 35. I know designers that started at 25. I know designers that started at 12. I remember there was a designer that literally had 17 years. His name, I don't know where that guy is, and I'm gonna Google his name, but his name was Bart de Graaf. Maybe you saw his.
Oh yeah, I know him. Yeah,
he was freaking 17 years when he was doing designs that I could do with 25, literally back then. So for me, the age doesn't matter. I was in car design till 27, and I started concept art at 27, 28. Around 27, 28, or 27 and a half, let's not lie. And somebody would tell you that it's too late, but for me it was a perfect timing. I had a car design background, then I switched to concept art, worked out pretty fine. I know designers, I'm not gonna mention them, that had... I met a guy that does car design, and he was a plastic surgeon. And he was 44 years or 46 when he started studying. And he is now still working in the industry. Like, I think he's very close to the pension, but he was a plastic surgeon and very successful one that decided to move to car design. So for me,
it's never too late.
Never too late. There is no matter. But one thing is for sure. Second part of the question. You will be on different positions with a different age. If you are younger, you can't be immediately as a senior concept artist. You will be paid less, but of course it takes time to go up in a hierarchy, like it goes things with life. So it's quite normal thing if that's the second part of your question. So yeah.
Yeah, like you said, I totally agree with you. I don't think age is important. It's only important if you're 100 years old and you're about to die, right? And then you have to start thinking, what are you gonna do the next day? Like, what are you gonna make of your life? So I don't think that's really important. I know designers that also like they start like at 35 years old and they're amazing designers, and they're still like putting really good stuff out there. Like some really creative guys in the industry that I really appreciate, like Janan, the formerly head of design. I think he was the head of advanced design at Renault. Now he's at Infinity. I think he's around like 40. It's still one of the most creative designers out there. It's one of my like a true living legends. I love that guy's work. Everything he does is insane. It's always good, and he's been out there since like I was like a young student. And then I don't think age is an issue. I think your mindset probably will be. I mean, if you're open to new stuff and you have new ideas and you have a lot of stuff to contribute to the industry and to the world, there's always time for you. Right. The time only stops for those people that let the time stop on their life. I mean, if you're always in constant motion, if you're always evolving and organically moving forward, the time is always good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think especially. You see a lot of there is a photographer, a Brazilian photographer, Sebastião Salgado. He started doing his photographs at 50, if I'm not wrong, and he's one of the best in the world right now. So age it's a detail, nobody knows the circumstances you've been through, when you start doing your design, like you have social circumstances, you have family circumstances that doesn't allow you, place circumstances, doesn't allow you to do whatever you dream of doing in your life. So they start their career late, you see Hollywood stars that started their career late in the game. I mean, the perfect example, dude, is those. They are one of my favorite artists in life. Is the Buena Vista Social Club guys, right? They were already on their 90s when Ry Cooder, the guitar player from Texas, wished them out in Cuba, and amazing, talented people that spend like most of their lives on a very humble way in Cuba, and then this documentary about them when they used to play in the 40s on clubs in Cuba. Their talents, man, their musicality, their passion, they still have it, and they were like in their 90s. One of the most beautiful voices, Omara Portuondo, I think she is like, an angel singing. And when Ry Cooder launched the movie in the 90s, they went to the stardom, They were doing concert in the whole Europe, United States. It's so touching. And they were like cleaning shoes in Cuba on their 90s. There was, this age thing. It doesn't mean anything. You just need to be loyal to your art and to your wishes, to your dreams. So yeah, it is never too late to start. There's a lot of circumstances that made them start, so late, or to shine so late. There's a lot of circumstances. So people need to respect other people's circumstances, and not judge, oh, this guy is a young guy, so I'm going to hire him because of his age. Or this guy is very experienced because he's like 50-year-old. It doesn't matter. What matters is their passion, their dreams, and the will to change things, and loyalty, and being honest and humble, and that would matter. Sorry, I spoke too much, but I think
no worries.
I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. So guys, I think we can wrap it up. It has been 2 hours, like 15 minutes, literally. At least for me. At least
I could stay here all day long talking, man.
Yeah, it passed so fast.
Let's make a 10-hour stream. 10-hour stream. But it would be fun. I know. Sorry.
We can do another round in the future. Maybe I think today was a really personal subject on this chat. We explore a lot of our perceptions on some subjects like design, but I think if we open, we can do it next time. Maybe going a little bit more on the technicality of design, like exploring a little bit techniques, like how do you do stuff? Why do you do that way? I think that's going to be fun as well. I'm open to doing it another time as well if you guys are open to. I think it was pretty nice, like chatting with you guys. It was I didn't see it passing so fast. For me, it was like a 30-40 minutes conversation.
Same for me.
That's awesome. Right? Yeah.
Well, absolutely, we can do it another time. Maybe, now that you mentioned that, we can make a creative pod gathering, and we can sketch all for 2 hours and design something in 2 hours and make a mini creative pod session.
Yeah,
that would be great. Awesome. Like sketching live with the creative pod guys, sharing the screens and showing everybody's process and hearing everybody's stories, and see where they are right now, and that would be like amazing, man. We
can sit and we can choose a subject and maybe sketch for 2.5 hours, something like this. I don't know, but I will try and do something. If you two are already up for this, I know that John will join us, and we'll
that would be cool.
Yeah, five or six of us and one screen, and we make a small talk and drawing.
So that would be awesome.
Yeah. So guys, hit the subscribe button if you still haven't. I had 2 amazing guests that made 2 hours pass like it was 20 minutes for me. I only had to ask 2 questions, so this stream was amazing. I really enjoy, guys, having both of you, and it was super, super, super fun for me. I hope that you two also enjoyed.
Oh, I loved it. Yeah, I know you've been asking me to do this live for years.
Tell everybody.
It was like, you're like, yeah, dude, you gotta do it. It's like, oh, I don't know, because you know what? There's of course the language barrier. English is not my first language, and sometimes I find myself in some hot spots, like trying to say something that's in my mind is quite complicated without coming.
We can talk in Portuguese. I also speak Portuguese, Joga bonito and stuff like that.
So like I said, I'm really shy, and that's one of the reasons why I postponed it so much. But to be honest, I felt really comfortable today speaking with you guys because you guys are amazing, and you guys provided a really nice environment for this conversation. I think it was really productive for me as well. I could learn a little bit more from you guys, your perceptions of the world, your perceptions of the design part of things. And then I really enjoyed it. For me, it wasn't 2 hours; it was like 20, 30 minutes. It was amazing. I'm glad that I did. Thank you, Darko, to invite me again. Thank you, Raw, to be part of it. I know you guys are busy as well, and you guys have your own stuff to do. But I feel illuminated by this conversation. I think it was awesome.
Me too. I feel fresh. I feel fresh. I'm gonna sketch after this, and I'm not joking. Now I'm fresh. I feel fresh from talking with you guys. So we will repeat this, guys. I will immediately say maybe even next Sunday, because we can thank to the situation, the freaking corona that's happening. We are all quarantined. So I hope that everybody's using their time best that they can, and probably will use it like this. So yeah.
Oh man, it's a pleasure. I'd like to thank you, Darko, for this opportunity, man, and Arthur. You guys inviting me. I feel blessed, and honestly, I was not expecting. And I think you guys are people that inspires me a lot. And it's a real pleasure to be talking to you guys. And let's make this a creative pod chat. That would be crazy, dude. That would be crazy, man.
We can try and do that every Sunday, maybe. Every Sunday would be nice. I think because of the quarantine and everything, maybe it's possible to do it every Sunday.
Yeah, we can discuss this offline, like how we're gonna do. Maybe we can come up with some nice ideas as well. That would be awesome, dude. I'm open to do it. We can invite more people to grab more comments and get more views of subjects. It's going to be good.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, guys, this was episode 33, Arthur Martins, but now it's also Rodrigo Galdino, feed DARMAR. So thank you everybody for joining. Thank you, Arthur. Thank you, Rodrigo, one more time for joining me. Have a beautiful day, guys, or the night. I don't know what's time there. And please hit the subscribe button. Goodbye. Bye, everybody.
Bye. See you guys. Thank you for your time.
Thanks a lot.